What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So EA Play is later on tonight, and might actually be worth watching. Yeah, it surprised me too, right? Well, more and more rumors and reports are starting to come out that show pretty much their biggest game right now going to the Switch, EA's, and they might even have, to me, an even bigger game that could be announced later on tonight. We're gonna go over those reports and what you can maybe expect tonight to be announced. Also, we have to talk about the PlayStation 5, and there may have been a leak that outed the price and the release date. We're gonna go over how likely that is and a look at that leak. And we have to talk about Pokemon Snap because that's right, there is a new Pokemon Snap coming out, which is awesome, but there were some other things that were announced and another announcement from the Pokemon Company to look forward to next week. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're gonna start today with xCloud. Yeah, xCloud, of course, going up against Stadia. Hasn't been much of a battle at all, really. Stadia's been, I think, pretty much run over by xCloud, and xCloud hasn't even left its, closed beta thing that they're doing, but xCloud has more variety. They're linking it to Game Pass, and it's worked fairly well overall, but xCloud is technically still weaker than Stadia, at least until next year. As you can see here, Tom Warren tweeted out that Microsoft is planning to upgrade Project xCloud servers to Xbox Series X hardware in 2021. At launch, Project xCloud will be powered primarily by existing Xbox One S blades. So they are using weaker hardware compared to Stadia currently and then at launch, but keep in mind, as Microsoft has said, all the games that they put out first-party wise will be cross-gen for like a year and a half, so that will give them time to upgrade to Series X blades, and when they do that, they will immediately become more powerful than Stadia, and of course that library of Game Pass and being tied to Windows even, there's a lot of stuff there that pretty much tells me that xCloud is going to be a bit more successful, we'll say, than Stadia. But again, remains to be seen how long or how far into 2021 until they start really upgrading to Series X blades. And while we're on the topic of Stadia, there is a Stadia Connect coming out. Now, if you see here, there is a tweet. This is from Summer Game Fest saying the next Stadia Connect is coming on July 14th as part of Summer Game Fest. Join the Google Stadia team for a look at some of the games coming later this year and a few surprises. They put a little infograph out there and all of that, so that's pretty early. I mean, they're telling us about this like a little under a month in advance. I would like to think that they have some compelling news there. I don't know. I feel like Stadia's kind of lost a lot of its, I mean, you could say hype, but I guess leading up to it there was. However, after it came out and the lack of interesting exclusives and anything really that would make you turn on your Chromecast or even your web browser to play it outside of just needing to because you have no other alternative, there's just really been nothing that pulls me back to Stadia right now. But hey, Stadia Connect, you never know. They could have something really big there. They're saying surprises. I would like to hear that Google went out and made a deal with a third-party company to make a game exclusive. I keep saying go to Sega because they have a ton of old IPs that could be revived, but that might be asking for too much. So I guess we'll see what Stadia has for us next month. Oh, and here's a little bit of, I guess, behind the scenes for development for Halo Infinite. This was really, really cool because at 343, they're getting some of their sound effects from a pretty interesting source. Once again, this is from Tom Warren, who tweeted out that we're just weeks away from seeing Halo Infinite. Good reminder that the Halo team is using original Xbox consoles to record the electromagnetic fields emitting from them to create sound effects in Halo Infinite. And I went back through and took a look at the Instagram for 343, and they have several videos on the Halo account as well of them recording these sound effects from even vehicles as they drive them, I guess, to add into the game. And I would have never thought that the original Xbox would have some sort of play in the sound effects for Halo Infinite, but it's kind of I guess a neat way, right, to kind of pay homage to the original system that started it all. And then they also do things with the Xbox One S. So they kind of have all of the Xboxes, maybe even the 360 that we haven't seen in these videos, thrown in there for sound effects for what's supposed to be this big revolutionary Halo game. Just kind of neat to think about that because I've never really considered where they could have got sound effects for something like the ghost that you kind of roll around in Halo. But there we go. Apparently, it's electromagnetic fields from the original Xbox. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with EA Play. That will be live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I think there's gonna be some fairly large stuff there, I guess, depending on what you're into from EA. Like, if you're into the sports titles, you'll probably be in heaven. I'm sure they'll go over all the different sports games. And according to Jeff Grubb at VentureBeat, who did a very good write-up, by the way, kind of gathering up a lot of the reports and rumors and stuff around EA Play that will be live tonight. We're talking about, of course, Madden, NHL, FIFA. Those should all be there, and they'll probably talk about them maybe briefly. Maybe they'll show gameplay. It's hard to say. I mean, FIFA is their big moneymaker, so naturally they probably want to have some sort of, I'd say, sizable presence there for FIFA as they get ready to launch another one, of course, later on this year. But the other one, according to Jeff Grubb, is UFC. So UFC fans can get excited, I guess, about that, maybe, depending. We saw them pull some shenanigans with the last UFC game, so we'll see about that one. Now, as for the Switch, it does sound like there will be some EA support there, and the biggest one right now appears to be rumors and speculation around Apex Legends making its way to the Switch, with the possibility of a stealth drop even later on tonight. And that kind of works since Apex Legends is a free-to-play game, so if they just stealth drop it, it's not like they're asking you to come up with money immediately. You just need to go download it. We saw this with Fortnite, right, and other free-to-play games, so it's not surprising that the idea of a stealth drop, and I don't think it's really surprising to hear that Apex Legends would go to the Switch, considering EA pretty much wants that game everywhere. They're gonna, smartphones, it should be going there. So to hear about this, it's not surprising. It's actually gonna be kind of neat, I think, to have it on the Switch, and really at that point to see how it performs for EA going forward, as we've seen what Fortnite's been able to do for Epic Games. It's a lot, right? They've been able to make this massive business even bigger just from Fortnite and how much money that's been able to bring in. Now, of course, we should also see Star Wars Squadrons get some gameplay there, which would be pretty cool. And apparently we're gonna see a bit more from the developing studio for A Way Out. They should be there, which will be pretty cool to see what their next project is. I don't know if they'll do a direct sequel to that or just try something completely different. It's usually pretty hard to tell with these EA originals. Now, Jeff Grubb did touch on BioWare, saying that they just might not even be there, which is a shame because I wanted to hear about Dragon Age, but it sounds like Dragon Age is going to be a next-gen game, so maybe it's still got to be in development for another year or two. Now, the big one is Skate 4. I know, every year, right? Every E3, we see this EA Play stuff, and I go, this is it. This is the year, Skate 4. It might actually be the year, though, for Skate 4. Jordan was talking to us about it on the podcast, of course, this past weekend. He really wants it to be there as well, and every year we hear rumors about it. It's just, it never happens, and I'm really hoping that it does this time. I mean, it's been 10 years since Skate 3. Come on, EA. Finish out EA Play with Skate 4. Let that be the last thing you show. Get everyone really excited. I don't know if it would come out this year. It might just be next year type thing, but like that would be massive for a lot of people. I'll say not everyone, but a lot of people. It would definitely trend on Twitter because Skate 4 trends every time anything skateboarding related happens in video games on Twitter. When Tony Hawk, the 1 and 2 remakes were announced, well, Skate 4 trended. So yes, here's hoping that EA has it to close out. But you know what? It sounds like it could be a pretty interesting show tonight, so I guess I'll be live streaming it, and here's hoping for some pretty big announcements. Next up, let's talk about a listing on Amazon that may have outed the date and the release pricing for the PlayStation 5. Now, as you can see here, this was in a tweet where Ben Geskin spotted this, a PlayStation 5 pricing for the disc-based model that will take, of course, the 4K Blu-rays at 499 euros, and then the digital edition at 399 euros. And this appears to be the account that generally sells all of Sony's different items. All the PlayStation items are there. So to see it at that type of a price, for a lot of people will convert it over to like, I think it's $563 or something like that in United States dollars. But a lot of times these systems tend to be more expensive in other locations. All this probably would actually translate more to 500 and just straight up 400 overall. That's not surprising. Really, it's not. I mean, Amazon, believe it or not, could have something with release dates and all of that. This is Sony's account, apparently, that is posting this, and while I was unable myself to come across this even in like the Wayback Machine for the internet, because this apparently was up for a little while and then pulled down and changed, that's not a 500 and 400 is pretty much what I expect. Although I think the digital edition may end up being 450. I mean, I looked into it a little further and the disk drive really won't save Sony that much money. Maybe they even make it the same price, but add extra storage inside the system. It's hard to say. Although 400 would be at least good for Sony because they really do like that pricing after they found a lot of success with it with the PlayStation 4, and of course Microsoft being reportedly very aggressive with their own pricing. Now, the other part of this is the release date at November 20th, and that would place it roughly a week before Black Friday, less than a week then from Thanksgiving this year. And I thought about that. I said, that might be a little too close. Like, I thought they would have wanted to do it the 13th and then give themselves like a 2-week buffer to maybe try to get more systems shipped out, even if they were in transit on launch day. But they've done this before. With the PlayStation 3, it was about the same window to Black Friday and Thanksgiving, whereas with the PlayStation 4 in the US, they gave themselves 2 weeks. So it's not like unprecedented. It's just a little later, I think, in November than they would like, by about a week. But it's a Friday, and it's certainly possible. I believe it's either the 13th or the 20th that they'll launch, and I think the pricing's right. 400 and 500 is the most likely scenario, I think, for the pricing overall. But it's Amazon France, so it's not necessarily straight up from Sony or anything. It is their account, but we'll see what happens with the PlayStation 5 pricing, especially after some of the reports and rumors coming out about Microsoft's pricing that we'll probably go over in a video, maybe on the second channel. It's looking like it's gonna be good for us because we could probably get cheaper systems maybe than we were expecting. Next up, let's talk about the Pokemon live stream that took place yesterday. It was about a 10, 11 minute video, and it did talk about more than I thought it would be. I said lower the expectations, then apparently the Pokemon company shows up and just says, news wave went up. All right, in an hour, we're just gonna go ahead and announce Pokemon Snap 2, and they did. It was pretty cool. Like, it looks great. New Pokemon Snap. The name, they probably could have just said Pokemon Snap 2, but it's fine. It's fine. It's been over 20 years. They can call it whatever they want. I don't care. It looks great. Bandai Namco is apparently doing this game, and it looks better than Pokemon Sword and Shield. I mean, let's just be real. Bandai apparently just runs right past Game Freak with their own visuals and the look of it. And the trailer was running at 60 frames per second. Is this game going to be a 60 frames per second game? Okay, I'm on board with it for that. That'd be great, especially if it's very responsive when trying to take pictures of the different Pokemon running around. Appears to be on rails. I did a reaction of it yesterday on the second channel, and from what I'm seeing, I'm on board. I really like it. So outside of that, there were some other announcements even, and they said that there will be another announcement next week on the 24th. So Pokemon's just going crazy right now with the Pokemon Company dropping all these releases and different ideas for games. And they also talked about Pokemon Smile, which is apparently an application for your phone that will help your kids brush their teeth by having an interactive game with Pokemon. Which, hey, I mean, you know what? It's not going to be for, obviously, most of us, but trust me, for a parent with kids, that is amazing. I'll say that right now. That is great. So actually, we have Pokemon Smile, which is for older people. We have Pokemon Snap, which is geared towards... This whole thing was for old people like me. That's great. Now, we did also have a kind of a puzzle game that's Pokemon Cafe Mix. It's coming out next week, it looks like, for the Switch and iOS and Android devices as well. Free-to-play game. They do that weird thing where, like, free to start with in-game purchases. Okay, yeah, I get it. It's a free-to-play game. Freemium style game, sure. But, I mean, they're doing a lot. I think these cell phone games only help these companies because, let's face it makes a ton of money. And we're actually getting Pokemon Snap 2, so it's not like they're just keeping that money and just doing nothing with it. They're legitimately making games, so I'm on board with that. Now, the question is, what's next week? Is it the Pokemon Let's Go for Gold and Silver? Are they going to do that? Are they going to remake Diamond and Pearl? Are they going to tell us about another cell phone game? Might just be another cell phone game. We'll see. It's interesting, though. Pokemon Presents and then another one next week. Yeah, they're doing a lot, but let me know what your prediction is for what their announcement is next week down below. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Horizon Forbidden West. This is essentially the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn on the PlayStation 4, unveiled, of course, during that PlayStation 5 event, and what we saw looked very, very good, looked impressive overall, right? It was hard to say, okay, is the game really gonna look like that, right? That, of course, is the question, and we'll eventually find out. And now we at least know when the game is set to come out somewhat. We know a window. Now, Guerrilla Games did post a video going over some of their ideas, ambitions, and the window for it for release. That is 2021, which is a shame because I was hoping it was a release game. Doesn't look like it. Most likely Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man Miles Morales will be launch titles. That's fine. Ratchet & Clank looked great. I'm interested in Spider-Man, so awesome stuff there for me anyway. But the other big thing that kind of caught me off guard a little bit, they made it the overall world much larger according to them, and no load times, like at all. According to them, you're gonna go through this whole game and not see a screen for loading, and even during fast travel, it'll be almost instant, I guess. Maybe they'll like do something to at least break up the scene, a little bit of dip to black and then, you know, fade back in or something. That is great. That is exactly what I was hoping we would hear about, that we would have a big open world game with no load times in the first year. That appears to be what I guess Horizon Forbidden West is going to show us, is the effect an SSD and a better CPU overall can have on a world that's gonna be pretty large with Horizon Forbidden West. So exciting stuff there. I'm thinking it's gonna be first half of 2021, but I guess this could even be their big holiday game next year. I just think it fits better in with like February or March, since that's where the original one would have released 4 years prior to that. So here's hoping we get it sooner than later. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Megatron saying, imagine not having the patience to just wait and pay MSRP for a video game console at retail when stock is plentiful. So the issue here, that's with the PS5 and those eBay listings that were, I mean, obviously there are people trying to take advantage of the situation, but the issue here is people are going to be concerned about being able to get the PlayStation 5, especially if it's closer to Christmas than earlier November, for example. Like if it really is November 20th, yeah, it's gonna be tough. That's what we ran into with the PlayStation 4 and even the Xbox One when that dropped at $500. It's just, they're hard to get on release day, so people are just trying to lock up the system any way they can, especially after that PlayStation 5 event. Honestly, some of those games might have just sold them on it, right? So that's the biggest issue right now, is just availability, because it's something we just don't know. How much stock will there be? I guess some people are like, you know what, I'll take the chance and spend $1,500. I wouldn't do it, but apparently some people would. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the Pokemon Presents event. Were you really excited for Pokemon Snap 2? Or maybe you were just excited to have the DLC finally released to you with some new details there. Also, what do you think about EA Play tonight? Do you think there will be that big announcement that I'm hoping for, which is Skate 4? Or you think it's just gonna be EA being EA, and then here's like 30 minutes of FIFA? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.